Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
It is finally Friday. We are one day closer to seeing the Broncos take the field in Indianapolis for the Colts preseason game 1. Who will be the starting QB? We still don't have an answer yet. Unfortunately, we thought on Wednesday that we were going to hear when they were going to be deciding who was going to find out. So we thought, okay, it's going to be Thursday. That's when we're going to find out what QB it's going to be. In what order are we going to see all of them between Jarrett Stidham, Bo Nix, and Zach Wilson? Well, Joe Lombardi came to the podium on Thursday, and he said no discussion has been had on it. We're going to meet on that today. How truthful is that? Maybe. I think they probably have a good idea of who's going to be out there and probably that exact order that I shared. But essentially, they weren't going to tell us anything. And I think my guess is they put the coordinators up at the podium on Thursday for that exact reason, because Joe Lombardi can get up there and easily say, we haven't had that talk yet. Hasn't happened. Instead, if you put Sean Payton up there, he's going to get peppered with questions. And we know he doesn't like to be peppered with questions. So no decision yet on who the starting QB is going to be on Sunday. I can't believe we're even saying that, everybody. We are one day closer to football. I cannot believe it. It is literally right around the corner, and I'm so excited. If I just had to put a guess out there of who I think would be starting, my first guess is it's going to be Jarrett Stidham. I think we're going to see him for, 15 or so minutes. I think it's going to be relatively simple, easy. Then personally, I would say go with Bo Nix for quarter 2 and quarter 3. See how he can do going into a half and coming out of a half as well. And then I think you would see Zach Wilson with the third strings out there for the fourth quarter. Of course, we're not going to sure what Sean Payton's going to do, but that would be my guess and how I would approach it, because your biggest upside is going to be Bo Nix and how, again, can he handle going into a half? If you're having to run a 2-minute drill, what's that looking like with him? And then also being able to say, you know what, I'm still in the zone, coming back out for the third quarter, bouncing back out there. How can he adjust that and attack it? It's so much of a level of maturity. Joe Lombardi touched on that a little bit about how sometimes you can see this level of spook in his eyes of okay, here we go. He goes through it a few times and he feels much better. So that's my hope when it comes to Bo Nix. We are going to see him continuously get out there for those type of plays, and then he's going to feel relaxed and hopefully starting week 1. Which QB won on Thursday, though? It does feel like we are down to a 50-50 quarterback battle, which is nice. It's nice to finally be there. We get a little sprinkle of Zach Wilson in there every once in a while. If you did not watch yesterday's episode, James Palmer was on Coffee Break, which was a really, really solid episode. And he talked about an interesting path for Zach Wilson in the future. So it's okay, yeah, Zach's not really in it for this year, but for the long haul, maybe he is in the conversation. Go watch that episode, a really great conversation. But back to Thursday's practice. Who won? Gosh, it was really tough because so they ended up doing a 2-minute drill down at the very end of practice. And luckily they were on the side closest to the media. I know the fans, it kind of sucks, but for us, we were right there. We could see everything and there was a lot to dive into. They're doing the 2-minute drill. And up until that point, I was going to say Jarrett Stidham had won the day on 7-on-7. Jarrett Stidham looked really solid. We saw plenty of good stuff out of him. It was really fun to see him, get so invested and being able to call out the defenses, being able to move guys around. We just saw a very confident Jarrett Stidham. Bo Nix struggled. We'll get into the highlight play of the day, but he just did not look good. We ended up seeing him run for a little bit. So up until that point, I would have said Jarrett Stidham 100%. He looked fantastic. We get into the 2-minute drill and Bo Nix looks the best. It's just constantly flip-flopping back and forth, back and forth. So you tell me, which one's more impressive to you? I think they were practicing down there at the goal line. So it was 1st and 10. Can you get into the goal line? I think you were starting on the 10-yard, maybe the 15-yard line for the 7-on-7. And then the 2-minute drill, they were starting back at the 35. So you tell me which one impresses you more to see. If you were out at practice, especially, then you obviously got to see it up close and personal. But it's a constant coin flip between these guys. And I feel like I'm on a roller coaster of Maybe Tristan should start. He looks really good. Joe Lombardi was talking about how he feels like he finally, has the system down and things aren't as scary for him anymore. Was saying that Stidham even went up to him today and was like, this is so much easier in a sense because I've been here. I've done that. I'm not having to learn all the new vocabulary. I'm not having to change all of these things. And that is one of the main struggles for this Denver Broncos team is there's so many young guys on it that are all having to learn new parts, new vocabulary, new language just from Sean Payton and his coaching staff. And it's really cool to see a guy that has been out here and does have that confidence and he does have that swagger. There was one play where there was a challenge, or they said that it should have been a PI call, and all of the offensive players taking their towels out and they are throwing it down the field to throw the flag. And Jarrett Stidham, one of those guys, and you can just tell that he's having so much fun. And I'm a full believer that if you are having fun at work, then you can succeed 100%. So I go back and forth between Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. Of course, the future is Bo Nix, and that's why it really makes sense that you have him out there. But what if you need the guy to win you week 1 and it's Jarrett Stidham? I go back and forth. So I'm really curious on where you all stand. So please let me know in the comments. I'm very, very curious. Devon Bailey. Okay, let's talk about him because the dude is a freaking stud. There's no way he's not making this team. If he doesn't, I don't even know what I'm going to do, everybody. I should quit my job. He has been a stud. And Joe Lombardi talked about it as well, saying, there's all sorts of plays that they're seeing out of him all the time, and he's continuing to get better. He's not there yet. He hasn't reached his full potential, which thank goodness. You don't want somebody reaching their full potential here in training camp. You want to see that hopefully in the playoffs or continuing up and throughout their career. But he had an amazing one-handed grab for a touchdown. It was a stunner. It's on my social media platform on Twitter, so please go look at that play. Unfortunately, we don't have the rights to it. We're not allowed to record. In case you did not know, and a lot of times why you don't see too many clips is we get a certain amount of period where we are allowed to shoot practice, and a lot of the times it's during warm-ups, it's during individual drills. It's nothing crazy. So usually we have that 10, 15-minute period, and then they're like, everybody cameras away, nothing else. But with the fans on the hill, they're allowed to record whatever. So a lot of times we're seeing the fans that are capturing these insane moments that all of the media members are like, I wish I could capture this insane moment. And we're seeing that be put on social media. So I retweeted that on my Twitter. You can say the insane catch that he had. Everybody ran over to him. He got up and you could tell it. He was kind of like, holy crap, I can't believe I made this play. And he was so pumped up about it. And I'm not kidding you guys. Everybody is rushing over to him, all cheering. They're like, oh, hell yeah, man. They were having the best time. And finally, we are seeing these guys get a little snippy. We're seeing them have some confidence. We're seeing them celebrating. It is defense versus offense. We're finally seeing some juice in practice. And that's a good thing. We want the juice. We want it because on Sunday, you got to have that juice and be able to go out there and say, I'm a better team than you, Indianapolis. Let's go. So I'm excited we're finally seeing that get out there for practice. It is the dog days at camp. They only have 1 more week, which is hard to believe. Next week, the Packers come into town later on in the week. Things are starting to get very, very serious. But it's been good to see those dog days. And Devon Bailey better have a spot on this roster. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do. Actually, here's a quick question. Here's a question for all of you. And if you're watching us on YouTube, drop it in the comments down below. Devon Bailey has looked insane. So good. Highlight catches, it feels like every single day. Are you okay with Devon Bailey taking the spot of a guy who has unfortunately been hurt for 2 training camps and has struggled and doesn't quite have that oomph quite back? Tim Patrick. Are you okay if Devon Bailey takes over Tim Patrick's role? Oh, that kind of kills me a little bit inside because, man, he has earned a spot on this roster 100%. And Tim Patrick deserves a chance to fight his way back into the NFL. But like Sean Payton always says, you are looking for the best 53 out there. The good thing is probably for Tim Patrick, if they were to cut him, he could probably stay on the 53-man roster because I don't think any other team would be willing to pick him up at this point. So that might be it's just a little bit of it really hurts just a little bit extra. James Palmer also talked about yesterday how Tim Patrick's one of those names where he's not entirely sure they're going to make the roster. And it's starting to be like that conversation is starting to heat up. And it breaks everybody's heart because he's such a good guy, but it is starting to heat up. So I'm curious, would you be willing to swap a highlighted Devon Bailey for a comeback of Tim Patrick? Let me know in the comments down below. Jonah Ellis was also getting a lot of praise today. He looked relatively good. We were seeing them, especially on 7-on-7, a lot of high talk about him, and you would hear the guys all yelling at him. And I think that that's relatively a good thing, especially when you're a draft pick, especially with where he was picked at number 76. It's really good to hear everybody kind of rooting for him and being like, all right, man, like you have an opportunity right here to really make an impact. Like, let's see what you can do. Even though he's not starting, just making those advances to becoming part of that is a really, really good thing. So I'm excited to see about that. I feel like we haven't talked a ton about Jonah Ellis, but I mean, otherwise he's just looked pretty dang solid. But poor Troy Franklin. Oh my goodness, you guys, every single day it feels like we're talking about Troy Franklin getting yelled at. And Sean Payton is not easy, I don't think. I can't imagine having him yell at you. Like, I just think of Sean Payton yelling at me, like if I didn't do my math homework or something, and I'm like, that terrifies me. And I feel like that's a lot of these younger guys, and Troy Franklin is constantly getting critiqued in so many ways. But here's my spin on this. Here's why I say, you know what, this isn't too much of a bad thing at all. Because why would they yell at you? Because they care, because they want you to be better than you think that you can be. That's it. If they didn't care about you, they would say, oh, okay, we'll just move on to the next guy. So it's a good thing for Troy Franklin. Obviously, they end up drafting him. They have very high expectations for him, as I'm sure he does himself. But it is a good thing, I think, that they are paying so much attention to him in the smallest of details. And Sean Payton is yelling at him, even though I'm sure he doesn't want to get yelled at day in and day out. But it's a good thing because truthfully, all that means is that they care and they're watching him. And of course, he's going to make the 53-man roster. They drafted him. It's like that's an automatic, which I feel like for a lot of those guys, that's got to be kind of nice that, like, as long as you show up and you are good at camp, like, they're not going to waste it. I know a few years, I don't remember who it was, a few years back, they drafted him and they still ended up cutting him. I don't think he ever played in the NFL again. Hopefully the name comes back to me before the end of the show. But, like, Troy Franklin, he's safe. He's safe on this roster, but it's a good thing that they are yelling at him and paying attention. Last thing I got for you guys on this Friday is special teams. Finally, you guys, I cannot wait to see how special teams turns out in an actual game-like setting. We see them constantly practicing. It's like we go from an individual drill, a team drill, all of a sudden we're practicing special teams because of the new rules. And I think it's going to be so fascinating and weird. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm kind of excited that I will be on my couch watching this first preseason game and not actually at Empower Field at Mile High, because I want to see how on TV it looks. And, you know, how, like, I mean, there's so many fine details, right? You can't essentially move until the ball hits the ground or lands in the catcher's hands. Like, there's so many different things that you cannot do with receiver's hands. So it's going to be interesting to kind of pay attention on that front and see where that ends up and how many flags are called and how much grace they're giving players and how the scheme is going to change. I'm excited to see the Denver Broncos be able to actually do that, because we've seen it in practice. We've seen some of the things that they're doing. We've seen them wait it out, and we've seen them talk about which ways, to, like, break up blocks, do pass protection, or not pass protection, do protection and all sorts of things. And this is like the time that we're going to be able to finally see it. We had a quote from the special teams coordinator: who can block, who can do block destruction, and who can tackle. Block destruction is the words I was looking for. But yeah, there's 3 things that you're looking for on the special teams: block destruction, and tackle. Who can do all of those things? And also, who's going to be next to Marvin Mims in returning? We know what Marvin Mims can do. Who's going to be that second guy that they can put out there if necessary? That's another thing we're all going to be paying a lot of attention to when it comes to just the next 3 preseason games. You guys, I cannot believe it. It's going to be here so soon. I'm so excited for football to finally be back on Sunday. It's going to be so fun. I'm just so ready for it. I'm so excited to hear about the quarterbacks, who's going to be starting, how those reps are going to look. if even Cortland Sutton and all of them, all of the starters, are they still going to go out there for a little bit with Bo, or are we really only going to see him with the number ones and be with Jarrett Stidham? I don't know. There's so many questions to be asked. Hopefully Sean Payton answers a lot of them today at the podium. Practice is about to get wrap up here very, very shortly. So there's plenty of good stuff, you guys. I cannot believe it. It's really, I don't know. It's just hard to believe. And last thing, I guess, just talking about Bo Nix, and I've got some videos from Joe Lombardi just speaking on Bo Nix. And another reason that fans should get really excited is Joe Lombardi talks about Bo Nix and the way that he's learning and all of these things, but like, he's still a rookie. We have to remember that. We have to remember that this is a massive step that he's taking, even after his 5 years in college, some at Auburn, some at Oregon. This is a massive step for him. And so I just want us to make sure that we can all give him a little bit of grace, obviously, as he goes into his first game on Sunday. And for Broncos country, not to panic. But Joe Lombardi had really, really good things still to say about the rookie QB.
Yeah, I think it's just, comfort level with just the operation. He's really instinctive, and so just playing football has been good from jump. So it's just, getting the huddle calls, some of the checks at the line of scrimmage. Just the more you see that, the better you get, and he's just getting more comfortable. We had a pretty good install the last 3 days, and so, he's had to restart some of that. But, he's everything that you hope for, just with his intelligence and the way he studies and prepares. And it's really just, the comfort level. When you give him a play and it's new and the defense has a new install, there's a little bit of, not as much confidence when he gets it and you look in his eyes. And then after a couple days when you're running the same plays, you just feel like he's a veteran. So just comfort level.
First of all, the bees down there at Broncos Park, they are outrageous. You saw the one like swarming around his head. I swear every single day I end up running at some point because there is a bee close to me. And I'm like, is it my perfume? Am I wearing too bright of colors? Like, they're all over the place. But Joe Lombardi obviously touching on that. And I mentioned that earlier about like how the eyes are a little big because it's overwhelming and it's a lot, but we're seeing him continue to improve a lot. But that's not just the rookie QBs either. Joe Lombardi goes on to say that can even happen with a 12-year veteran.
Even if you're a 12-year vet, when you're getting new language, new protections, and then you add in, a unique defense that maybe, you don't have a ton of experience with. So even a veteran in his first year, you're going to feel some of that. So I don't think it's unique to Bo or a rookie. And that being said, for a rookie, Bo's been outstanding with that. But Jarrett just mentioned today just how much easier it is for him his second year. And, when you break meetings at night, just how much more comfortable he is. Just like, man, I got all this already. And, when it's brand new to you, it's like, man, you break meetings and you got a lot of review to do. And so it's just a volume issue with new information that, your second time through, it's always going to be easier, whether you've been playing for 12 years or you're a rookie.
And I think we all feel that on some way. I know I feel it looking at the roster and being like, wait a second, who caught the ball? Because I'm not used to all of these new numbers. There's always new information coming in, but I'm so excited for Sunday. And I'm excited to be right back here on Monday, giving you guys all of the deets on what I thought about Sunday's game. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm so excited. Football is finally back. The Denver Broncos are going to be wearing their new uniforms out there, and things are finally starting to heat up. Let me know down in the comments who you want to start, Jarrett Stidham or Bo Nix. And I appreciate you guys so very much. And I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye.